China confirming today that it has detained former Canadian diplomat Michael Kovrig a day after Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou was released on bail in Vancouver. She was being held at the request of the United States government. The situation highlights the growing tensions between the United States and China, with Canada seemingly stuck in the middle. It also points to the politicization of an extradition process that is outlined in a treaty between Canada and the United States. So what will it take for U.S. authorities to win their case to have Meng Wanzhou extradited to the United States? What will it take for China to release Michael Kovrig from detention? I spoke earlier with veteran lawyer Gary Botting in Vancouver, who specializes in extradition issues. I started by asking him what he made of the fact that the Chinese government said Michael Kovrig was being held on national security issues.
It certainly seems like, as has been said, that it's tit for tat, that they are trying to show that they too can flex their muscles. Canada's caught in the middle.
Yeah. What are his rights?
Sorry, what are his
rights in Chinese detention?
His rights, well, he has a right to a lawyer there in China, and the state will usually provide one for him. And unfortunately, we don't know where he is or under what circumstances he's held or whether he's under interrogation still. His rights don't resemble those in Canada in terms of, the right to silence, which is the key right that we have in Canada in criminal matters.
Yeah. A friend of his, former ambassador, was saying today that the interrogation in China is a lot different than the interview system in Canada, and as a result, his sympathies were with him tonight.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. What if the government of China says, well, when Meng is released, he will be released? What can Canada do?
Well, Canada, of course, can release Ms. Meng at any time. The previous speaker said exactly that, and he's correct. The Minister of Justice has discretion to stop this in its tracks. Now, Trump has also weighed in. Well, the fact is, it's a process that the Department of Justice in the United States can stop at any time, and literally with a stroke of a pen. If they want to, they can simply put a stroke through Ms. Meng's name in the indictment that they say they have, the sealed indictment in which she is implicated in the allegations that sanctions were violated and so on. So it's quite simple for the United States to close this off, in which case Canada would simply stop its proceedings and Ms. Meng would be released.
If they don't do that, let's talk about what Donald Trump had to say to Reuters last night. The U.S. president saying to Reuters last night that he would intervene in the extradition case if it helped him get a trade deal done with China. If you were representing Ms. Meng, how would you use that information?
Well, first of all, he should be asked to put his money where his mouth is. And again, as I said, he can simply pressure his own domestic authorities to do the proper thing and blank her name out of the indictment, and that would end things once and for all. But also, the Minister of Justice in Canada can at any time say, no, I'm not going to issue an authority to proceed, so there will be no proceedings in Canada, and Ms. Meng gets to go home.
Is this evidence enough evidence to be able to do that, Gary?
Yes, there is, because it's discretionary. It's entirely at the discretion of the minister. And this is not just me or opinion, it's the Extradition Act which says this. Section 14 of the Extradition Act says that she has every right to simply stop things in their tracks.
But she has to have a reason.
Well, actually, it's the other way around. She has a reason. She has to have a reason to issue a provisional warrant in the first place. It doesn't take any kind of reason for her to change her mind until the United States brings the evidence forward, which would be in a record of the case, which is a summary of all the evidence that the United States relies on, and a list of all the witnesses that it would rely on in the trial. And then Canada has to assess that. That's where the judge comes in eventually in an extradition proceeding. But there is no extradition proceeding in place at this time. That's the point.
Right. I understand what you're saying, but if she were to do it now, it would look like they just wanted to get out of a political pickle or were taking China's side. Don't they have to at least wait until February 6th when they have their next hearing and the United States has its deadline for all of the supporting documents that you're talking about?
Well, theoretically, it may look aesthetically better if they wait until the United States puts its ducks in order. But you've got to remember that it's the United States that brought this on itself. They could have waited, for example, for Ms. Meng to arrive in Mexico, and because that's where she was going in this flight, and they have an extradition agreement with Mexico. Why not wait until she got there and then extradite her from there? Instead, they've involved a third country, Canada, and that was completely unnecessary. I think Canada is so used to jumping whenever the United States says to jump, and jumping as high as it can to accommodate the United States, that some person in the Department of Justice did this as a matter of rote. They simply, when they received a request from the United States to issue a provisional warrant, they issued one, and it was sent off to CBSA, the Border Services, and they acted on it, arrested her, and now it's a matter of saving face by pedaling backwards as fast as we can. Well, the best way of stopping it all is simply to say, no, we're not going to issue an authority to proceed. And even better, for the United States to say, whoops, it's the corporation that we're after, not Ms. Meng.
All right, Vancouver lawyer and extradition specialist Gary Botting. Gary, thank you very much.
You're welcome.